welcome everyone to SHRM at SJSU's first ever podcast. Because of COVID-19, our team was inspired to start something new and continue helping our members by sharing our stories. Today, we have some special guests, 3 of our fellow officers, Theresa, chapter president, Carolina, our director of affairs, and Maya, our VP of mentorship. And I'm Mariel, your VP of events, and I'll be acting as your host. To start off, we're gonna be sharing a fun little fact. For me, I've always wanted to host something, whether it be on radio or on TV, and be like the next Ellen. So this is my practice for that. Maya?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of HR, I want to be a university relations program manager, but as side thing I want to do is become a famous comedian. So this is my start.
Nice.
Okay, Carolina?
Yeah, so we actually have a group chat in SHRM with the officers. And yeah, my fun fact is just that me and Sean, the director of involvement, switched names on that group chat. So I'm Sean and he's Caroline.
It's so annoying. I forget every single time. Like, who's talking? For me, there's nothing really interesting about me, but I guess my first job coming out of high school was working at a milk tea shop, which is ironic because I'm actually allergic to tea, so I couldn't drink anything. So in order for me to know if I did it right, I had to get used to the smell. So I had to smell teas and be like, oh yeah, there's enough sugar in there. But that's a skill I have.
When people would ask you like, is this one good? Like, what would your response be?
I would just pick one on the menu. I'm like, because, I can't tell them, I'm actually allergic to tea. I don't know what's good. I just picked something.
That's funny.
That's great.
Well, good thing you didn't really have an allergic reaction and you're alive today. So, okay, so today we are going to be discussing all things internships, some tips, our experiences, and how COVID-19 has affected some of our internships. So to start off, why don't we just go around and we can share what internships you've had or more looking forward to. Let's start off with Theresa.
Yeah, so I currently have an internship right now, and it's my second internship. My first one was with a company called Global Amusement Consulting, and it was in the entertainment industry, as in games and rides and things like that. And I was an HR administrative intern, and what I did there was helped out with the interviewing process. So I got to shadow a hiring manager and learn about the techniques to do interviews, and I got a guide on how to interview candidates and just ask the right questions in the right order to get the best answers out of candidates. And right now I'm at Lamb Research as a global talent acquisition intern, and I work with a lot of job descriptions all over the world. So one of my biggest projects right now is getting into contact with hiring managers from all different Lamb Research locations, and figuring out what positions they hire for the most and build out job descriptions for them, so we have a global standard job description. That way processes across the entire world is standardized. Yeah, that's what I do.
That sounds kind of intimidating when you're talking.
No, it's not. I don't do anything. I'm an intern.
You don't get coffees or anything?
Oh, no.
How about you, Maya? Maybe an internship experience you've had.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, a lot of the jobs that I've gotten, jobs and internships, have been through SHRM, which is really cool. The first semester I joined SHRM was in spring 2018, and through a connection, a volunteer professional, he actually put in a good word for me at a staffing agency called Adecco, and that's an internship that I worked in. In the employee engagement space, on the technical side of Adecco, supporting Google. So basically all the temporary workers and the contingent contractors, I would support all of them and make sure that they had a good experience and that their contracts got extended, that they got their pay raises. And it actually turned into a full-time role after 6 months of the internship, which was pretty incredible. And then following that, last summer, I worked at a smaller company called UMA as an office manager intern. And that was something I got through a SHRM connection as well. So actually SHRM has been really, really helpful for me.
That's awesome to hear. And I hope a lot of our members that are listening take advantage of our network and like obviously advice from us, because we do have that on our website, all the job stuff for their reference. Carolina, your turn.
Yeah, so an internship that I've done in the past is with a startup called Council More, and I was an administrative intern. And yeah, this was a startup where it was a software company for college counseling. It's a very niche industry, but this software we sold to college counselors in the Bay Area and like for-profit organizations that trained and tutored high school students and kind of mentored them into going into university. And so what I did as an administrative intern is like coordinate like information sessions and meetings with university admissions like reps and educational counselors in the Bay Area. I also designed and maintained the website as well as send out newsletters to industry professionals. So I got a lot of knowledge and experience just getting into that very niche field.
Cool. I'll go ahead and share an internship experience as well. So I did the Pebble Beach Special Events Management Team internship. It's a program through San Jose State's hospitality department. And me, I've always had an interest in special events. And when I've had people tell me like, you know, I'm in HR, but I still want to get that event experience, that management experience, or like, you know, you should intern. One of the reasons I actually wanted to go to SJSU was because I knew they had this program. And it was one of the most fulfilling things I've done. And it actually led to like job experience as well, because they kept inviting me after. And so that was really fun. And, you know, I can totally imagine myself going into the hospitality industry, but also taking in my HR knowledge. And they actually there's a person who was a former SCMT alumni, and she did the team lead program, which is what they offer to us students after college as an entry-level management position. And now she's in HR. So I'm like, there's a lot of room for growth in that company, which I really respect. And I hope to keep my ties with them. I know it's really hard right now for the hospitality industries because of COVID, but I'm really hopeful and, you know, I want to work there. So it'll be really fun. Like, I know Maya kind of touched on like how she got her internships because of SHRM, but how about Carolina and Theresa? Like, how did you hear about your internships, or maybe like explain a little bit about the application or interview process?
Hey, Theresa, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk more about the company that I'm working for right now and how I got it. It was actually a pretty extensive process, and I'm not sure if it's because they're a Fortune 500 company, and I feel like those are usually a little harder to get into, and the application process is more extended. So there was actually like 4 rounds for me. The first one, the recruiter reached out to me, and she basically asked me to answer a couple questions via email. So I had to type up responses for like 5 questions, and then I sent it to her, and then she was like, okay, so the next round is you're going to get on a phone call with me. So then I got on a phone call with her. Sorry, let me backtrack a little. I didn't tell you how I found it. So I was actually just applying like a regular person. I went on Google. I typed up HR internships. I typed up people internships. That's something that HR fields are calling their positions now, like people operations manager and things like that. So it's important to also look up people-based roles. And Lamb Research popped up on LinkedIn, and I just applied on LinkedIn. LinkedIn actually led me to their website, and I just applied on there. But going back to the application process, I got on a phone call with the recruiter, and she said, okay, so the next step is that you'll get on another phone call with the hiring manager. So I got on another like 30 to 45-minute phone call with the hiring manager. And then the last round, I came in to meet the hiring manager and also someone else from the team. And they got back to me in like 2 weeks. But you know, that process happened fairly quickly. But I know like other companies that I applied for, they didn't get back to me till like a month after I accepted this position. You know, so just remember to be patient. They take a while, unfortunately, and you should just follow up when you feel like it's long overdue. But you just got to be patient.
Yeah. How about you, Carolina? How was your process for your internship?
Yes, so because it was with a startup company, it was very small, just the people that are in there, and so it was very quick, the kind of application process. So I found it through Handshake. I just searched kind of like admin roles, I think internship roles I was searching for as well, and this one came up. It seemed pretty interesting, so I applied, and then I received an email from the CEO. It's a startup, so she was like, going to be my kind of point of contact. And yeah, she just wanted to schedule a phone call, so I scheduled kind of like a video phone call with her. And yeah, it was like this 30-minute phone call, and then after that, it was kind of like guaranteed that I had it. And I was like, okay, that was cool, that was quick. But yeah, so and then I went in. I would say maybe like 2 weeks later. So it was rather quick, the application process. But apart from the one that I had the one that I had last year, I also applied to have a summer internship, which has been kind of been alternated a little bit and has been kind of been changed just to adjust to the current situation right now. There's many programs that offer internships with specific companies. And the program that I applied to get an internship with is called MAPE. It's the Multicultural Advertising Internship Program. And within this program, it's this very large, prestigious program that has been in the works for 47 years. And it's the most like prestigious nonprofit internship program in the advertising industry. All of the different roles that go into advertising, they offer those positions. And if you do get the internship, an agency picks you and you go to spend your summer at that agency, and they can send you anywhere in the country. And the agency that picked me in the end was an agency in New York. It was called Merkle. But the application process was very it was kind of it was very extensive. So what went into this process was, first of all, 5 essay questions. It was a 3-minute creative video to kind of show like what made you a unique applicant and why you felt that you deserved to MAPE. Your transcript, a letter of recommendation from a professor, another letter of recommendation from an employer, the application itself, your LinkedIn profile, and I think it was like a $25 fee. And also, if you are creative or not, you could submit your the URL to your website, which oftentimes were their portfolios. And so I applied for this in October. It was like took like around like a month for me to fill out this application. So after that, after I submitted it, I got a notification that I was now a semifinalist. So now that I made it to that second round, we then got paired up with interviewers who had been MAPE alums. And so once I got to that round and I made it through that round, it was like around like a 45-minute interview session over like Skype. And then I made it that round, and then I was a finalist. And then when you're a finalist, you are then put in a database. And the agency that picked me, luckily, was this really cool agency called Merkle. I don't think I will be interning with them anymore, since a lot of the agencies are kind of canceling their internal internships. Nothing is set in stone, but my internship is still happening. It's just not with the agency now. MAPE is now kind of conducting the internships within their program. It won't be paid anymore, but at least I have something and it's virtual. But I think that the reason why I was still able to get this internship and the reason why it wasn't canceled was because it is this prestigious program that has held up its name for a while. So if they were to just cancel everything, it would look pretty bad on their end. And so I think going into an internship through a program that picks the internship for you kind of is like a safety net, because they kind of have more of a liability and kind of a reputation to uphold, because that's their service. It's not like a company that has like this program, but it is like, the main thing that they focus on as a program. So I'm very lucky that I was able to apply through that program and still kind of have that internship, even though it won't be in New York, even though it probably won't be with that agency. But I am going to be doing like case studies and kind of projects from different agencies in the summer online. It was a very extensive application process. It won't be fully executed the way it was supposed to be, but I'm glad that I did apply, because I still, have some version of it. Around every year, anywhere from like 2 to 6 people from San Jose State, become interns. And this year, it was actually me and my best friend who got the internship. And she also got an offer in New York. So we were supposed to spend the summer in New York together, working at an advertising agency.
Yeah.
Boo. But yeah, it was like, wow, what are the odds that like the 2 people from the advertising department of SJSU were like, 2 close friends.
When I applied for the SCMT internship, Special Events Management team, they have like strict deadlines, because they have the event week already that you're going to be working. They have all the dates lined up, like that you need to have off. And they have like, for the application, I think it was just like a cover letter, your resume, and like basic application questions. But the interview was a panel interview of like 10 to 15 people, which is like super intimidating, but I like talking to people, and hospitality people are always nice. So it wasn't like I have people who are like making me feel super intimidated, but I kind of always explain that program as The Voice, because there's 3 managers who have to choose, like they're choosing their team for that week, and they have to see who's the best fit, which I think is like really fun, because those managers, they've been doing it for years, and they know like how your personality needs to be, because they explain to us like, you don't need to know what to do, because we're going to teach you everything, but we need to see if you're a good fit. And so I really liked that program, and like the group of girls that I was with, we're all girls, we all like vibed really well, so it was really fun. And I liked the process for that one. How about you, Maya? How are your internship processes like? Anything out of the ordinary?
Not for the ones that I mentioned. Like for the one that I got with Adecco, I was already working as an HR associate at Target, and so I brought in that experience. I actually took the phone interview while I was lying down on the bed, so I'm surprised that I got it. Like, I think like with phone interviews, it's just what makes you comfortable. I've done phone interviews like just pacing, I've laid down, I've like just sat down, but it's basically like what makes you feel comfortable. And then like Carolina was saying when she was talking about going through like an agency, the summer internship I got last summer was actually through an agency recruiter that had come through to SHRM, but that agency was the one that placed me at that position. And originally I was just there to cover a girl that was on leave, but then they liked me a lot, and they were like, oh, do you want to stay with us? And I was like, well, I was waiting for another job offer at the time, so I was like, I'm not sure. And then I didn't get the other job offer, so I'm like, okay, I'll be staying. So a lot of times things will happen and it'll be crazy, but it's awesome.
You had a summer internship lined up, and it's also been affected by COVID-19. Do you want to touch on like how that is for you? How like being disappointed?
Yeah, it's kind of really sad because I'm graduating in the fall. So this is my last summer to do an internship. I had a great like internship at Valley Water lined up, and they canceled it and said they're not sure if it's going to go remote. So I've kind of had to now start searching for internships and whatnot. I'm thinking about potentially like doing online teaching for kids or doing something online. But thankfully at the Career Center, I work on campus, they are still offering us we're going to be doing live chat with students, and we're going to be doing some other projects and workshops over Zoom. So I still have something going on over the summer, just not the internship I was looking for.
What is something that you've learned from your internships that have helped you today, that you've still carried on in your work today?
Yeah, I would say that being an intern at the software startup for college counselors really taught me about how to just be professional. So it really taught me a lot of professional skills on being professional, and also it kind of gave me that foundation of being able to update a website, send out newsletters, which is what I'm doing right now in SHRM, and which is, what I'm doing at my current job as a web and social media assistant for associated students. So it kind of gave me a good foundation on kind of managing, a content management system and doing all of that. So yeah, I would say overall it gave me a really good basis and foundation for, progressing into further roles that I took on later.
That's awesome. How about you, Theresa?
For me, something I learned is, when you're communicating with professionals, it's a lot like communicating with your teammates in school, because you know how usually when you take on a leadership position within your class group projects, you kind of have to follow up with everyone constantly and create deadlines like, hey, did you do this? And you have to meet up with everyone individually. It's kind of like that for professionals too. I had this assumption that once I went into the work, what am I saying? Once I go into the workforce, and especially in corporate, people would be a lot better with communication and they'll be responsive through emails, but it's really not like that, especially if your projects aren't as important. And, you also have to consider that I'm an intern and I don't really have a name for myself in the company yet. People aren't as responsive. You have to set deadlines for everyone when you're, excuse me, asking them to do something. So that's something I learned, like adults are like that too. And it's not that they're ignoring you. It's because they're swamped and they have a million things going on. And I think that's helpful to reflect into your team projects too. Cause it's so easy to make the assumption like, oh, they're lazy. They just don't want to do their work. But truth is, everyone has so much going on, and it's not that they're not prioritizing what you need from them. It's just that they have a lot of other things going on. And that's important as an HR professional to remember.
How about you, Maya?
Yeah, I would say like in the workplace, I have a kind of unique story because I came back to school after taking 2 years off to work full time. So I've kind of been out there in corporate for a bit. Two of the most important things I would say are like management visibility and documentation. So management visibility is like you could be doing great work, but if like your manager and your manager's manager are not like able to see that, like you could just continue working it, but you're not going to get like places, especially if you're an intern, especially if you're entry level or you're new. And also documenting your processes and being able to train new people. Like even if you're not in a formal leadership or management role, if you're able to train a new hire, or if you're able to train like, one of your coworkers or even your manager, like, I was doing like MailChimps and I was doing some, unique things for my employee engagement program, and I taught my manager a lot of things about like Bitmoji or about newsletters and things that she didn't know. And so like never be afraid to like bring what you have to the table. We can teach a lot to our coworkers, to even our managers. So like don't be afraid to like step up and show what you got.
Yeah, I definitely see Maya do that with the SHRM board now too. Like she actually initiated the MailChimp thing to Chelsea, was it like 2 or 3 semesters ago? And now that's something that we're doing constantly. So I totally agree with you. You should bring your own ideas to the table.
But for me personally, just working with a diverse set of people in my job at school, which I don't really get to do anymore, unfortunately, and with managing people at Pebble Beach, like I've worked with such a diverse group of people. Like, yeah, so working with a diverse set of people has just been really like a great experience. I've gotten to manage like people from all different types of backgrounds, and it's so fun to me. That's why I love that experience for myself, because it's like I can totally transfer that into HR. And I'm really excited for what comes in the future. Okay, everyone. So just to finish off, we've heard from these amazing ladies here and their experiences, and hopefully it's helped you. And you can see the different sides of an internship, whether it be from the application process, the interview, what we've learned. And to finish up, we're just going to share a last piece of advice. So I would just say, go into it and develop relationships with the people you work with, because it makes it a lot easier, and you'll have a lot of fun. Okay, how about Maya?
Yeah, like I said previously, documentation is so important. This isn't like wherever you are, even your part-time jobs, even your internships, full-time jobs, at school, just everything you're doing, write it down. Because at the Career Center, I help people with their resumes, or in general, it's a hobby of mine to help people with their career development. And I always ask, I'm like, so what do you do at this job? How many customers did you help per day? Like, what were some of your accomplishments? And people are coming up short. They're like, oh, I don't remember this, I don't remember that. I'm like, well, it'll be a good idea to keep all that written down. All those class projects that you're doing, it's all experience. Like, even if you haven't worked any paid job, or if you haven't worked outside of the classroom, you've been doing a lot. So my piece of advice would be to just write everything down, take a note of it.
I love that. Carolina.
Yeah, I would say just with, the MAPE experience for the summer internship, I would say to look into programs that place you into specific companies, organizations, or agencies, just because they have more resources and they have more manpower to give you that specific internship that you're looking for, or place you in an internship that you may not have thought that you wanted, or thought about in the past. But I think those programs are very beneficial. There's a ton more that you could search up on and look for those programs, because it's also a lot easier to get an internship with those programs. The application may be more extensive, but you're also increasing your chances of getting an internship rather than applying for each individual company, right? Because you don't know if you're going to get it. You're also spending more time, with each application. And so just, I would say to look into those programs.
Thank you. Lastly, Theresa.
Yeah, so Carolina, I think that's a great alternative if you're looking to get into that route. But for those of you who are applying the more traditional way like me, my advice to you is don't lose hope, don't feel discouraged. Because before all of this happened, a close friend of mine was actually job hunting, and it took her over a couple months. And she was like, Theresa, I'm so sick of this. I'm sick of interviewing. I feel like I've done 30 of them. And I was like, just keep going. The perfect one is going to show up and you're going to be so happy you waited for it. And she's like, what do you know? You already have a position. I'm like, I was in your exact shoes a couple months ago. I applied to over 50 internships before I got this one. And I've gone to 20 to 30 interviews, and I got so sick of it. And by the time I interviewed with Lamb Research, I was so over it. I was like, this is after this, if I don't get this, I'm definitely going to take a break because I'm so tired, because it is very exhausting preparing for every interview. But my advice to you is just chin up. Rejection happens all the time, unfortunately, but most of the time it's not your fault. It might not just be a good fit. And if the company thinks that, you don't want to be there anyways. So it's worth the wait. Just keep going.
Hey, I love that. I hope our members take a lot away from our experiences, and I've taken a lot actually from all of you too. Some tips for myself. And to close off, we're going to give a quick shout out to a member and an officer. So our member V Lamb, she has been so involved with SHRM, and she gave me ideas for the podcast. She's spoken with our executive board about upcoming and committees that we can be establishing for next semester. So we really appreciate you. And for our officers shout out, we'll shout out Sam. He's been doing such a great job on all our social media, keeping us doing some things different. So make sure to check out our officer vlogs and all his other projects. He's also doing music, so maybe we'll post a link to his SoundCloud. Sam also created the jingle that is going to be playing right now. So that is our.
I love this song.
That is our first SHRM at SJSU's first ever podcast. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. If you have any comments, suggestions, DM us on our social media, and we'll listen to you, because we do this for you. We love you, and we hope you stay healthy. Good night, everyone.